just come from a meeting with the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. Our meeting comes on the heels of incredibly good news for everyone, and that's that hostages are coming home. Earlier this week, Keith Siegel, an American hostage, was released. He's a 65-year-old American citizen, currently lives in Israel. He's a father, he's a grandfather. On October 7th of 2023, he was abducted by Hamas, taken to their underground tunnels, and his wife was also taken hostage. He was held prisoner by the terrorists for 484 days, and the conditions we know were hellish. He's finally free, united with his family, and recovering in a hospital. We look forward to more of these moments. These are the results of bold action by President Donald Trump. As Prime Minister Netanyahu said this week, President Trump is the greatest friend Israel has ever had in the White House. We all celebrate the good news. We're also keeping an eye on alarming news. The news is the rise of anti-Semitism around the world. A prime example is the International Criminal Court. It's a kangaroo court. Last year, it issued arrest warrants for Israeli officials. One of those officials is Prime Minister Netanyahu. The charges, of course, are bogus. The Senate had an opportunity last week to fight back. Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas, chairman of the Intelligence Committee, introduced a bipartisan bill to impose severe sanctions on the ICC. The House of Representatives passed the same bill last month. The bill was bipartisan. Passing this bill in the Senate would have sent a very strong message that America stands with Israel, that we wouldn't let our ally stand alone. Democrats in this body in the U.S. Senate filibustered in spite of the fact that 45 Democrat senators voted to abandon our closest ally. 2 now Democrat senators voted for this same bill last year when they were members of the House. Yet when the opportunity last week to support Israel in the Senate came, they voted no. Democrats' filibuster is the reason why the ICC is not facing the crippling sanctions that it deserves. This very topic came up in our discussion with the Prime Minister of Israel. We did point about the fact that ICC, as a kangaroo court, refuses to point out the difference between right and wrong. And the vote of the Democrats to block this bill in the United States Senate was an affront to the people of Israel, and the Prime Minister specifically asked the Democrats to get this passed, to support this legislation, which is united support by the Republicans, had bipartisan support in the House, but was held up on this body by a unanimous vote of the Democrats, or near unanimous vote of the Democrats, to stop this legislation in its tracks and to allow the so-called International Criminal Court to continue with their lack of justice in a court they claim to have, where I see having no jurisdiction. So where do we go from here in terms of what we've seen today and in our discussion with the Prime Minister? What is the path forward for peace and prosperity in the Middle East? That's what we just spoke about. First, peace and prosperity in the Middle East begins with American support for Israel. President Trump and Republicans in the Congress stand with Israel and have from the beginning. Our support is unwavering, it's unbreakable, and it's unequivocal. It's not what we've seen from the other side of the aisle. Additionally, the biggest barrier to peace and prosperity in the Middle East continues to be Iran. As the largest state sponsor of terror in the world, Iran controls a vast, violent network of proxies. These Iranian terror proxies include Hamas, Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen. Iran funds its terror proxies. Where does a lot of money come from? Well, by selling oil to communist China. Last year, the Iranian regime's oil sales to China averaged over 1.5 million barrels of oil each and every day. How'd that happen? Well, the Biden administration allowed it. They looked the other way. Tanker loads of oil to China, pay at a discount, tanker loads of cash back to Iran. To break Iran's chokehold on the Middle East, America must bring back maximum pressure. President Trump's going to do that. He's tough on Iran. During his first administration, he imposed crippling sanctions and enforcement measures that brought Iran to its knees. President Trump is now back into the White House, and so is his successful maximum pressure campaign. This week, he restored sanctions on Iran. This comes after he relabeled the Houthis as foreign terrorist organization. It's a strong start, and we can still do more. In the Senate, stopping Iran terror is a priority for the Republican majority. Now, deterring Iran means restoring peace through strength. Republicans are supporting our military. We are ready to make key investments to make our military more lethal and the most powerful force on earth. With Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth now in place, we are already seeing morale return and recruiting numbers rise. We're also working to bring back American energy dominance. Energy is America's most critical national security asset. We as a nation are an energy superpower. We have enormous natural resources. We ought to behave that way. And under this administration and this majority, America will unleash American energy. A stronger America makes our allies stronger. It also makes the world safer. Strength deters enemies. We will work with Israel every step of the way. Together, America and Israel will bring a new era of peace and prosperity to the Middle East.